What we're all looking at is enthusiasm numbers in these early numbers. In the exit polling for the millennial data, the 18 to 29-year-old data says 18% of them turned out. Well, guess what? The millennial generation is the largest generation in history. There are 17 million more of them than baby boomers. If all of them turned out at the same proportion that they turned out in 2008, 65 million of them are eligible to vote. 51% turns out, that would make them 24% of the electorate. That would mean that if 18% have turned out, there's a depression in enthusiasm in the youth vote. A lot of money was spent by Republicans and Democrats on this race, almost $90 million more dollars on the Republican side if you count all the outside groups and the hard dollars raised. Republicans are going to be looking at each other wondering where that money went. I think what you'll see is the Republican Party take a moment, step back, and descend a little bit into warlordism as it did at the end of in 2008. I think there's going to be a lot of fighting because the Republican Party is made up, the conservative movement, of many different factions: libertarians, economic libertarians, social conservatives, national security hawks. There's going to be fight over the narrative, over who is going to control the Republican Party, and there is no elected leader of the Republican Party for the next 4 years. The predominant thought in the marketplace, too, is that Wall Street was hoping that Romney would win only because they felt that the combination of the president and the Republican Congress, this intransigent Republican Congress, simply couldn't get the deal done, that something needed to go.
But that's like saying that the Republicans get to be rewarded by being intransigent because Democrats couldn't get anything done, so you got to give it to Republicans.
The tone that we're going into Washington in is entirely polarized. 80%, over 80% of the advertisements on both sides in this election were negative advertisements. This is highly scientific, advanced market segmentation of voters. The Bush 04 campaign did this, and then the Obama campaign took it to the nth degree. What they do is they identify voters based on their consumer preferences. They overlay consumer preferences with prospective voting preferences, and then they are able to target, micro-target based on all of these consumer preferences, emailing, knocking on doors, how that voter would like to be touched, how are they going to best receive that campaign's message. One thing about the millennial generation, any cohort, generational cohort, when they come of age politically, if they vote 3 times in a row for the same party, their partisan identity is solidified for the rest of their lives. The millennial generation split their votes for Al Gore and George Bush. They voted for John Kerry. They voted for Barack Obama. They have voted for Barack Obama again. They will not self-identify as Republicans for the rest of their lives. Another issue is that we have Hispanics. About 25% voted for Mitt Romney this time, down in 2004 from 40%, maybe 44% for the Republican Party. So clearly the Republican Party has work to do with this. And President Obama won 12 points women, that he increased his margins on women. So we talk about Nixon's 1972 strategy, a 50-state strategy. It's not just about geography anymore for the Republican Party, it's about demographics. The point about money, against the backdrop of a $16 trillion debt and deficit, the one issue that Mitt Romney consistently pulled ahead of Barack Obama in every single swing state by all the independent voters, every single time you asked him, debt and deficits. Well, this is a really interesting question, is whether the Republican primaries and having 20 debates were actually good for the Republicans in the general election. And I think there are a lot of Republicans who will scratch their heads and they will defend it. But there are a lot of folks who will say this was not a good thing because Mitt Romney simply could not reconcile saying to Hispanics, self-deporting. I cannot emphasize what a historic night this is for the gay rights movement.
It's the first time it's been put up to vote and actually passed.
It has gone to a ballot 33 times and failed. And now in one night, it is likely that 4 of 4 have won. We won't know Washington for 3 days or so because they're all mail-in ballots. But this is a watershed movement for the gay rights movement. It has.
It looks like it is in Maine. We haven't called it yet.
So first, this passed in the courts, and the opponents said this is judicial activism. Then it passed in the legislatures, and then the dissenters said, well, it will never pass at the ballot box. And tonight, it is passed in likely.
It's interesting, though. This whole issue did